Yeah, because I also feel like, well, if this is the time that like they are trying to push out Jess, which is something that very well could happen in media. It does happen where like somebody might try to like push somebody else out. I think it's very weird to do it now after she goes on maternity leave, considering she got into a whole transphobic rant
Yeah, she sucks.
against T.S. Madison. Like, I'm not saying that Jess Hilarious is like a perfect person. I'm not saying she's a perfect personality. I'm not even saying she's super funny. But like, right and right is wrong, and like they're trying to like gaslight her to make it seem like, oh, what's going on? It's not really like that serious when like it is. And then also you have to take into account that she's postpartum. Like, because everybody was like, oh, why are you blowing up on the internet? She's postpartum and she's trying to make sure that she still has her job, like to feed her kid. Like, that's a lot.
She got 2 kids.
Yeah. That's a lot to be going through, and everybody is telling you.
That's a very stressful situation to be in.
I'm Nani.
And I'm Ant.
Join us on Law and Order as we unpack the hottest topics, trending lawsuits, and media buzz.
Take a listen as we cut through the noise to reveal facts and what's really going on.
Tune in for sharp insights and a fresh take on today's stories.
Follow us everywhere for your dose of lore.
Did you do your finger guns?
Yeah, I did. Oh. It was watching those. I realized you say purr. I was like, oh, I didn't even peep.
Yeah, I didn't. Honestly, I wasn't doing that on purpose. I was just kind of like purr.
Yeah, and then I wasn't even doing the finger guns on purpose. I didn't even notice until you just said it right now. I was like, dang, I gotta watch that video again. I kept doing it?
Yeah, my vocal stem is kind of purr. Like when I was in New York this weekend, someone was like, oh, I like your outfit. I was like, purr. Like I forgot to say thank you. Yeah. I didn't even need to look at it. I kind of already have it memorized.
Yeah, me too. Because when you were going, but right before we say the last part together, I lost where I was reading. I was like, I don't know where. I'm like, my eyes was just looking at it. And then I was just like, okay. Yeah. Because I was like, okay, I do know it. That's how you know stuff.
Yeah.
Because you're like, okay.
You're just looking at it. But I feel like I have a habit of doing that also when I'm reading, which is why it took me a long time to like actually start like reading books. Because like.
But you do what?
Just look at the words.
Oh,
like, and I'll just like space out, like, and just like I can't focus on like it has to be like a really good book, but like I will just be staring at a page and just like I'll read like one sentence and like in my head I'm like, oh, it reminds me of this one time, and then next thing you know I'm daydreaming and I'm just staring at the page, I've reached the bottom of the page, but I have no idea what I just read
because you didn't read anything.
I completely disassociated.
Scanned over reading. I love reading. I'm actually really reading 3 different books right now.
Really?
And it's interesting how and I've loved reading since I was like a kid. I used to get in trouble because I would like sneak read in school. Like instead of do my work.
Are you
I'm
one of those kids? So cute.
I was screaming. But the fact that I can't see pictures in my mind makes it interesting to me about why I enjoy reading so much. Because I can't envision anything. Like I don't see a movie in my head. And I didn't know other people could until fairly recently. I was like, dang, I'm kind of jealous. Like, that sounds cool. So people were asking me like, oh, the parts where they're like describing a room and what's in it and all this other stuff. My whole life I've found that part very annoying because I'm like, I can't see this anyway. What's the point? I don't care the blue chair in the corner. But yeah, it's called aphantasia. I believe that's how you pronounce it. If anybody wants to go look it up, you can't see pictures in your mind. Like if I close my eyes and try to envision something, there's nothing. It's just black. I can't see stuff.
Yeah, I'm the exact opposite. I'm very visual. Do you have dreams? Can you lucid dream?
Does lucid, when you say, I can daydream, but I'm not seeing anything.
No. You have control over your dreams. Like
I can realize while I'm dreaming that I'm dreaming and like try to control it. Yeah.
I can know when I'm dreaming, but I can't control it.
I can, I can see stuff in my dreams. What I realized recently is I don't think when I'm dreaming and it's people, I don't think, like I'll know who the person is or something like that. Like I can have a dream, about my fiance, about family, whatever. And it's like, I know it's them, but I don't think I'm ever looking at their face. Yeah. No. I was like.
I don't ever see anyone's face either.
I woke up one day and I was like, but it's like I'm looking at them, but it's not like they have no face. I just know
like
it's
you recognize
them. Yeah, it's
like,
weird.
Yeah. Have you ever been like visited by somebody in a dream? Like a loved one that passed?
I feel like yes, but not often, but also not them trying to tell me something. But most of the times, and and if the government sees this, I'm lying. I can't do this. I dream about the future. Like, it'll be something, you know how people say like deja vu and stuff? Like, no, I'll specifically remember that dream where it happened. It's never anything big. It's nothing like significant, but I'm like, oh, I know how the next like 5 minutes are going to go.
Yeah.
And that's why I believe like if I really try to get into it, I could be into that whole like freaky deaky stuff. I mean, like the what's it called?
Telekinesis.
Yeah. But I don't want to get into it because I remember there was you know Trey Melvin. He's like a YouTuber.
Yes.
Watermelon Drea. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. His birthday's actually, I believe, the day before mine. But he was making this video after it came out that this one content creator was or whatever that she was like and all that stuff. So he was like, y'all need to get hip to what's really going on. Some of your favorite celebrities are involved with like, you know, the devil and all this other stuff. He was like, y'all need to wake up. Y'all need to learn about this. And I remember I was watching that. I was like, no, I don't. I don't need. I'm like, I feel like if I learn about this, it opens me up to it.
Yeah.
It's like I'm in a book right now, and it's like, it's a certain genre. I can only go within the limits of that book because it's that one genre. But if I start learning about all this other stuff, the book is open and anything can get to me. So that's why I'm like, I don't need to learn about it.
It's like
it can exist. I'm good.
Like when people start saying angel numbers and then like they learn about angel numbers and then now all they're saying is a bunch of different angel numbers and more angel numbers and now they put more significance in angel numbers and then like, you know, they start focusing on astrology and then like they go into this whole like spiritual psychosis thing. But it's just like, if you just probably would stop paying attention to it, you would probably be able to like still be like okay or like really back. You probably wouldn't notice it as much as like you think you are. Like it's probably not happening to you at the scale that you think it is. It's just the only thing that you're paying attention to.
Yeah, if I'm in the Matrix, I'm fine staying asleep.
Me too.
Like I'm good. That world seems pretty messed up.
Like I remember somebody asked me like, would you take the pill to wake out of the Matrix? No, because I don't.
Seems like it sucks there.
Yeah, no, like I don't. No, I'm cool in the Matrix. The Matrix seems fine.
I don't need to be woke.
Yeah, which it's not even about like being woke, because it's like you can be aware that things are going on, but it's just kind of like be completely unplugged. Like I said that at the beginning of like all of this stuff, like all of this political stuff. I said I want no part. Yeah, like I don't want to hear anything about anything. Yeah. Like. I don't care. Like I did the whole thing like years ago, even when I was in high school. Yeah. The cycle's gonna keep going. It doesn't need me.
Yeah, I feel like most of my work is everything that's going on, like policy, paying attention to every single thing that's going on. That's why when I come home, I'm not trying to do all that stuff. Like when I'm talking to people who I don't work with, I don't want to talk about that stuff. Like some people will really try and like strike conversation over you. They find out you're a lawyer. They find out you're into politics, whatever. You do politics or whatever. And they're like, oh, let's talk about this. And it's like,
no, stop right there.
I don't want to.
Stop right there.
Can I just vibe right now?
We just want to vibe.
But yeah.
Okay. Are we getting into first topic?
Yes. But I just wanted to say this before. We literally could do a whole like episode with no topics. Like we would just be rambling on. Like we really rambling. And it would just
good chemistry, which actually talking about good chemistry does take us into our next topic, because that's one of the things that I do feel like would help this situation. But if you don't know, the Breakfast Club, Jess Hilarious, they beefing a little bit right now because she went on maternity leave, and the person that she got to fill in for her, Lauren LaRosa, has pretty much stepped up and done a really good job thus far, and the audience really loves her. But then Jess comes back from maternity leave, and the person that she filled in for her is still there, and she is no longer kind of like, her role has changed and she doesn't have it, you know, her job isn't the same as it used to be, which is, I know that a lot of people do not like Jess Hilarious, and honestly I don't find her like particularly like very funny either. Like she's never somebody that I've never had strong opinions on her. Like I've paid attention, like I remember when she first started doing Jess with the Mess, like 2017, like back on Instagram or something like that, like I was like, oh, this is funny. Yeah, and like I liked her back then too. But like I feel like for a long time, like I just really haven't paid attention to Jess Hilarious. Like no shade. It's just been kind of like, you know, she does her thing, and it's not like what I pay attention to. So I don't have any strong opinions of her, although she has been very problematic and very controversial. But what I will say is that like I'm gonna explain what happened in a second, but like she went on maternity leave and essentially like her job was no longer the same, which is something that happens in the workplace a lot, not just like in entertainment. Like this is a very serious issue where like women go on maternity. It's illegal actually. Like women go on maternity leave and now their job is basically like dwindling away like right in front of their eyes, and like they practically can't do anything to stop it. But essentially like I think it was back in 2022, Angela Yee leaves the Breakfast Club because she, you know, she's ready to do her own thing. She wants her own show. And now she has her own show. I know she had a show when she was on the Breakfast Club called Lip Service. It was doing some freaky shit from there. But yeah, so Angela Yee, she leaves, and then I think for a while they just tried to do like DJ Envy and Charlamagne the God, but that doesn't work because DJ Envy isn't very opinionated and Charlamagne the God is a bully. Like I was just telling Anthus that like he is very smart, and if he would stop trying to be a comedian, I think that like, you know, people would like at least grow to appreciate him a little bit more, because like there are some like some of your
because right now it's like, bro, shut up.
Like some of your faves like really do love like what's that girl name? Not girl, she's a woman. Angela Rye. You know who Angela Rye is? She's a political commentator. Her and Charlamagne are like very close because he is smart. He's just a fucking bully. The same way that like 50 Cent is a bully.
Or like Stephen A. Smith.
Yes. Like just like you're not funny, you're punching down on people and you're being mean. Like that's Charlamagne's thing. So I think they, you know, came to realize that they did need a third person on the show. And I do think that it needed to be a female comedian because Charlamagne a lot of times is mean to women in particular because he's trying to be funny. So I think they needed a female comedian. They did a lot of different like there was a lot of different hosts during the time. And I think Jess Hilarious got like the highest ratings or like got the highest views or whatever. And she had like the best chemistry with DJ Envy and Charlamagne the God. So they decided to bring her on full time. Not long after she's there, she gets pregnant. And it's time for her to go on maternity. I guess she got happy that she, you know, got picked and got a new job. So her and her man went to celebrate and she got knocked up. So she goes on maternity leave and she decides to have Lauren LaRosa be her fill-in. Now, they did not discuss this. I'm pretty sure that Lauren was there as a news producer prior to her going on maternity leave. So I believe that she was already there working for the Breakfast Club in some off-camera capacity. Okay. So she was already there, but then she goes on maternity leave. She asked Lauren to cover for her. Lauren is there. People love Lauren because she's very informative. Like when she talks about something, she really knows what she's talking about. She did her interviews, she reaches out for commentary, something that even Angela Yee wasn't doing, because Angela Yee was also pretty like problematic. Like she got into a couple of spats with people. Like some of the guests that came on had like words for her, and she would try to be like, I don't know what you're talking about, like just try to be like real cute and docile, but like, you know, so she had some spats herself too. And like Lauren LaRosa, like she's just like, she's new, she's fresh, she's informative. So after she comes back, after Jess Hilarious comes back from maternity leave, I guess they decide that Lauren is going to stay on camera. But here's where they messed up. They don't give Lauren her own segment. Instead, they keep her there with Jess with the mess. And Jess is there to be a comedian. She's not there to be news. Like, yes, she's supposed to give you somewhat. She's not even supposed to
talk about trending topics.
About trending topics and makes jokes out of the trending topics. She was never there to be like the news source. She was never there to bring forth like informative information, because they had a news producer the whole time. There's always supposed to be a news producer there that is supposed to make sure that the news gets told and that accurate information is being told. But it's probably better for the news producer to tell that anyway, because they're the person who has to reach out to PR teams for like, interview questions. They just have to, a news producer has to make sure the news segment gets done. So like under any circumstances, like if we need to reach out to PR teams, if we need to reach out, you know, to somebody for commentary, if we need to schedule somebody else, like that's their job. Like they're supposed to have interview questions and, you know, just everything like that. So Lauren, I assume that she was always there. She just was off camera, but they decided to keep her on camera, but they decided to bring her on during Jess's segment. So it's almost like because I've given an analogy with like a lawyer and a doctor, but I think
on your TikTok, I enjoyed that analogy. I think it makes sense.
But I think there's a better one, but I'll still say that analogy. It's like if you have a lawyer and a doctor, and like the doctor steps out of, you know, the operation room, and then the lawyer is like, well, I'm gonna set up office here really quickly, and the doctor finally comes back and is like, hey, can I have my operation room back? And he's like, well, the lawyer's like, well, no, I'll make a little bit of space for you, but like now, like I need to, you know,
emphasizing that they're doing different things.
They're doing different things, and now, but they're putting them in the same space. But I'll say the better analogy is that, like, you know how you have a teacher, and like, let's say like your teacher has to go use the bathroom in the middle of the class. Let's say like you're in high school, right? And she goes and gets, I don't know, like the 9th grade teacher to come in to like step in your class, and the 9th grade teacher starts, you know, teaching your class. Let's say it's the same subject, but because you're 9th grade and like, well, this is the 9th grade teacher, and let's say you're a senior. So this is the senior teacher's class. But now everybody enjoys the 9th grade teacher more. So like, even though they're both teaching history, they're doing it in completely different ways. Even though they're both talking about trending topics, they're doing it in a completely different way. Jess is supposed to give it to you in a comedic way. And Lauren is supposed to give it to you and make it like, you know, the news. Like she is a news reporter. That's how she's a journalist. That's how she's supposed to give it to you. Like she's supposed to give you the facts and all of the accurate information. So when people say, oh, Lauren is doing a better job than Jess, no, she's not, because Lauren is a comedian.
They're doing different things.
They're doing different things. And then a lot of what really happened is that like they also have terrible chemistry. So like, have you ever heard, like, you know, when people like, oh, you scaring the hoes? Like, you ever been around somebody and they make a joke, and like, even though the joke like isn't true, it's still funny, but somebody goes like, oh, well, actually, that's not true, because like, it's a joke. It wasn't supposed to be like super accurate. So like now they have that going back. They have like that back and forth going on with each other. And it's just like, she don't have time to tell her jokes, because now you got this girl who's trying to give accurate information out at the same time. Like,
and if that's her job, like that's what she's supposed to do, then it's like, okay, well, I can't let you say this, because we're like, this is a time to give accurate information, when it's like, what is the time for now? And it seems like they didn't discuss that before.
So they just messed up, like not giving Lauren her own segment. And I just want to say, like, Lauren is great. Like her segment is fantastic. I love hearing her talk. Like whenever they ask her like a clarifying question, she has the answer. Like she reads everything, like she does her research. I like Lauren, and I think that like if we're going to be talking about like real news topics, such as like one of the topics that we're going to get into later, then we need to have accurate information. And some of these things are really sensitive, and not everything is a joke. So it's just kind of like they needed to have a way, or one, Lauren and Jess need to come up with a way to have better chemistry. And also they need to find a way, Lauren as a news producer should be able to build a segment around herself, because why are y'all fighting for airtime? You're a news producer. She's your talent. Jess is her talent. So like, it's
didn't she make a video saying it?
What?
Like, you're my talent?
Yeah, like when she, oh no, yeah, they had a conversation about everything. So Jess got on Instagram Live, and then the next day, Charlamagne, DJ Envy, Lauren, and Jess, they all had a sit down conversation. They pretty much had a production meeting right on air. And Lauren was just like, well, she was like, I'm a news producer and you're my talent, so I'm technically supposed to do da 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 da. Exactly. You're a news producer and she's your talent. Like, you shouldn't be fighting with airtime against your talent. That I do agree with. But like, all in all, like, I think whether like you love Jess or you hate Jess, like, I think you can admit whether or not she's been wrong, because I think specifically in this situation, it is weird that like, oh, this woman goes on maternity leave, and then all of a sudden now like her job description has changed, and it does seem like they're trying to push her out, because the audience has been making it seem like, oh, Jess or Lauren is better at Jess's job, and really like they're doing two different jobs. And I think that's what she was upset about.
Yeah, it's not she's doing her job better. It's just y'all enjoy this segment or whatever this is more than Jess. And it is illegal for you to be punished for like going on maternity leave or like anything like that. So that is very unfortunate. I don't watch The Breakfast Club. So I think, and I think your explanation of it and your background in like media production and stuff like that really like provides context that I wouldn't have received, or I wouldn't have thought about just seeing the catastrophe unfold on
play
itself.
out,
Because I saw your TikTok and I was watching, I was like, I never thought about it like that, or I didn't think about it like this. Also was just looking at surface level videos. But I was like, oh, that is an interesting perspective. Like, because if I was looking at it, I would have just believed like, oh, like they're doing the same thing and people just like her more or whatever. Not realizing, all that context goes into, like producing a show and, how it's supposed to run and things like that. Because it just seemed like just very, very messy.
Yeah. Because I also feel like, well, if this is the time that like they are trying to push out Jess, which, is something that very well could happen in media. It does happen where like, somebody might try to like push somebody else out. I think it's very weird to do it now after she goes on maternity leave, considering she got into a whole transphobic rant against T.S. Madison. Like, I'm not saying that Jess Hilarious is like a perfect person. I'm not saying she's a perfect personality. I'm not even saying she's super funny. But like, right is wrong is wrong. And like, they're trying to like gaslight her to make it seem like, oh, what's going on? It's not really like that serious when like it is. And then also you have to take into account that she's postpartum. Like, because everybody was like, oh, why are you blowing up on the internet? She's postpartum and she's trying to make sure that she still has her job, like to feed her kid. Like, that's a lot.
She got 2 kids.
Yeah. That's a lot to be going through, and everybody is telling you.
That's a very stressful situation to be under, especially just thinking about like how contracts work and if lawyers have to get involved and if it has to be escalated to that next step. But to one thing that you said, where you were like, at the end of the day, what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. We were talking about, because I don't like ever like I was like you, like I used to like you were saying 2017, 2018, whatever. I was following her, like I just thought her content was so funny. She was so funny. I was like, oh my gosh, I love this. And she's like from the area. So
she's from Baltimore,
Baltimore. So it's like, okay, like it's familiar in some sense. Like I really liked it, but it's like through the years. Humor. Yeah, but just like through the years, she
got weird. She got problematic.
Weird. She got problematic and it got real weird real fast. And so then I was just like, all right, okay, I don't like this girl. Because I think even some stuff, like being transphobic, like standing 10 toes down on that, I'm like, dang, girl, you the new J.K. Rowling? Like, what's going on? So she, she's just weird. And I don't care for her. But so when you say like what's right is right, what's wrong, and acknowledging things, stuff like that. And so like when it comes to like people, I don't hate her or anything like that, or wish the worst for her. I'm indifferent. Like, so when I see something like this and it's that conversation of like, we need to talk about this and this is important and we need to acknowledge wrong. And I'm kind of just like, I don't need to do it. Like, I don't care. I don't care what happens to her.
Right.
Like if she did lose her job, if she did all this other stuff, because I'm indifferent towards this person,
it wouldn't make you no different.
I'm like, I don't care. I don't need to
rally for her. Yeah,
rally for her, acknowledge it. The concept of losing your job, which is still, I feel like murky because we don't know, did she like
no, she's still there. She's still there. She's still there.
So but the concept of it, a woman losing her job after maternity leave, like that is an important issue, and that is something that needs to be discussed more and prevented. And it's like you have these laws, but then people find slimy ways to do it anyway. All this and all that, because it happens to men as well. Like it happens to parents, like punishing people for becoming parents, even though that's what the American society tells you to do.
But it's like when people kind of like start picking, like when people pick and choose like what to care about. Like if we're going to say that like, oh, like what is going on with Jess is wrong because like that is a terrible situation to be in, then like that's just what it is. But like it also goes back to like how we were talking about when people talk about like Nicki Minaj and people say things like whenever they get into a beef with her and they're like, oh, like you're married to like a sex offender or something like that. You're married to like a rapist or something like that. He can't
go to the playground.
Right. But then they go and work with other artists who do the same
also
thing.
Abusers. And
so it's like y'all only care about it. Like y'all pick and choose when to care about it.
Like when her beef with Lotto on Twitter and people, the stands and stuff are happening. Like just say y'all not using the Trump card. Just say her man is is a sex offender. All this. So when it's like when Lotto finally said that, it like, okay, but this doesn't feel authentic. It doesn't feel like something that you actually care about that because
just before, like
you're
she got
using this
into
in a beef, like,
Nikki.
you know,
yeah, she was,
and
like,
you was messing with it before it became inconvenient for you, or like you didn't like her, or like whatever. Not saying that makes it okay, because at the end of the day, that's still messed up. I'm not messing with her. But it's just like people. You're right. People pick and choose when they want to have morals.
Yeah.
And when they want to, like, to the point where it's like, okay, I'm not going to support you. But it's when it like benefits them, which sucks. But speaking about Jess in that sense, it makes me think about how, like, when I'm saying I'm indifferent and people are kind of like, oh, at the end of the day, like, this is right, this is wrong. I also think about when people are like, even if you don't like this person, you have to acknowledge a thing, whether it's they've been wronged in a situation, or if they're talented, like the whole art and artist thing. They're like, I don't necessarily believe in that to a degree. Like, you know, we were talking about how it was like that TikTok about people are like, oh yeah, Nicki, and talking about all of, you know, her faults, but then they're like, and she can't rap. And then it's like, you kind of went too far there. Like, now you're just lying. True. Yeah. Now you're just lying. Like how someone will be on social media and they're like, oh, you're ugly. And it's like, all right. Come on now. But I'm like the kind of person where I, in a lot of circumstances, will not acknowledge someone like I don't like. If something good happened to them, I'm like, I don't have to recognize that. Like, I don't care. I don't like this person. Like, I don't have to say something good about them. Like, in a topic of like Nicki Minaj and stuff like that, I'm not going to bring up. I can feel it on inside, but I don't feel the need to bring up like, okay, yeah, I think she is an amazing rapper in the same conversation where I'm like criticizing her.
Yeah,
because it's just like, well, I'm criticizing her right now. Like, why am I bringing it up?
Yeah, I think people just try to like come from an even playing field. I think people just want to,
and I don't believe in that.
Really?
I believe, like, I can be an extremist at certain times, but I don't feel the need to do that, because it's like, I feel like it's done in the sense of like fairness, but I'm like, why do I need to be fair to this person in this moment, in this conversation? And I think it has to do with context. I'm talking about everyday conversations. I'm not talking about I'm getting on the news and I'm talking about something. I think that would be different. But I mean, like, in a conversation where I'm just like talking to like friends and stuff, and they're like, well, you do have to acknowledge this, and I'm like, or you do have to admit this. I'm like, no, I don't. No, I don't.
I'm trying to think, is there any instance where I'm like, oh, I have to acknowledge that? No, I don't think there is one.
I feel like it's different in the context of like maybe how somebody like grew up and stuff like that affects how they are. Like, that needs to be taken into consideration.
Like, what do you mean?
Like, there's this girl, and she is terrible when it comes to men. Like, she'll like other women having a man, like she becomes she becomes attracted to them, always trying to steal somebody's man, whatever.
Girl.
Yeah, and I'm talking about somebody, but but you have to take into account, or for me in this situation, it's like, she did grow up like this. I'm thinking about stuff that's happened to her in her life, like her relationship with men and stuff like that.
I don't
and
take
I'm
that
like,
into account.
Okay.
No, I don't care. I feel like if you trifling like that, you just trifling like that. I don't give a fuck how you was raised. Then your mama trifling and your daddy trifling.
Yeah,
like,
true. So, but does that
trifling.
example give you an idea of how you do that in any situation where you're like, let me acknowledge?
I don't think so, because I feel like I'm cut and dry, but I'm not extreme.
Actually, I feel like you did it in the last podcast. Remember you talking about so and so relationship with their parent?
Who? What am I talking about? Oh.
I was like, she gonna get it. She gonna get it.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Like, yeah, the fact that you were even to make that tie, you were like, yeah.
Yes. Okay, yes. I got a homegirl with some, let's say, daddy issue, mommy issues. And like
You're trying to just like, what if, you know, I know
it's not even a what if, because like, I really don't care, but it's kind of like, yeah, like I know somebody that like, I know the way they act is because of the trauma that they had.
Yes.
If it's trauma, then yes. But if it's like,
my example was trauma, but that wasn't clear from what I was saying.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, if it's trauma, then yeah, I can look at a situation and be like, oh, okay. Like I can forgive you in some instance, or I can give you some leeway. But honestly, after a certain point, I can't. Yeah. Because I feel like you got to put your big girl panties on. You got to get your shit together. You know that you're a terrible person. Yeah. You know that like people don't like you. People don't enjoy you. People don't want you around like their boyfriends. Suck. Like you suck. Yeah. Like you suck. And like you should know that. And like I think taking pride in the fact that like people hate you is very weird. It's so weird. Like, oh, I'm Mrs. Take Your Man. What? What are we doing? Like that's not a badge of honor. Like, what? Like that's really not a badge of honor. But yeah, it took me a second to figure out what you was talking about. Yeah. I got it.
But I also understand what you're saying when you're like up to a certain point.
Up to a certain point.
Because when I have made someone, it's like, okay, I don't like you, and that's it. Everything, I feel like people don't keep in mind certain things when they decide they don't like somebody or they aren't going to be friends with them anymore. And someone will be like, oh my gosh, like what if this person dies or what if something bad happens to them? I take that into account before I cut somebody off.
And honestly, I deal with death very well, shockingly very well. So it's like, if you die.
Yeah, I'm avoidant, but that's like if somebody I stop being friends with dies, it's like I feel like it would be inauthentic of me to be like, dang, like, oh my gosh, like, no, because I took that into consideration when I cut you off. I knew you was gonna die one day. Right. You knew I was gonna die one day when you had me messed up. Right. So it's just like that, like stuff like that isn't like what's it called? We have not an epiphany, but
it just doesn't.
It doesn't
come up.
It's not a changing factor for me. Like, I need to do something. Like this was the one piece in the puzzle that's going to change my perspective. No, my perspective isn't changed. I actually feel the same way.
Yeah, I'm very similar to how I feel about people. Like once I decided I'm going to take a step back from you, you're never going to get that step forward again. Like I've definitely taken step backs from friends for like, I remember there was this one time where girl, she got me out of character. Like I'm not confrontational. Like but I don't run from confrontation. Like I remember like my mother one time, like she scared me and like instead of like jumping back, I lunged towards her. And she was like, you've been doing that like since you were younger. Like when you get scared of something, you don't run away from it. Like you lunge towards it. And that is honestly how I deal with confrontation. I do not like confrontation. But like if I have if I know I got smoke with somebody, and even if I don't want confrontation, I'm gonna walk in the room and be like, "Let's clear the air." Yeah, all right, like immediately, like immediately. Like I don't like it, but like it's just everything in my body just makes me want to do it. So there was this one time where like this girl, she got me out of my character, and like I really was about to like get out of the car on this girl. Like it was a whole situation, but like she had reached out so we could talk about it, and I just. No. Yeah. I didn't want to talk about I really never after that day, I never talked to her again because I was like, I feel like if you get me out of character, there's no way for us to go back. Because I am usually like so strong-willed in my character, if you get me out of my character, there's no way for you to come back. Like if I have to yell at you as my friend, like we can get into little spats, little arguments. Like I've gotten into arguments with friends before, but like for me to feel like I had to put my hands on you, no, never.
If I've decided I don't like somebody, like I'm really not messing with you. I can be a true hater in the sense of like I don't wish you well. Like, you know, like at the end of the day, like I don't mess with them by wishing well. I don't wish you well. I don't wish you anything. I'm not trying to think about you.
I love that. Like when people be like, oh, I still care about them, but like I wish them well. I don't.
Well, I say that in the sense of like I could be a true hater, and we know the number one hater, Kendrick Lamar. Oh, which brings us back to this Drake UMG
business.
Yeah, lawsuit or whatever. Yeah. So they responded to Drake. I'm not going to talk about like too in depth about their actual response because I still need to like comb through it. But I just want to talk about like they have a quote in there. Like they use one of Drake's quotes. Like I believe at the beginning of the lawsuit, and the tone of it is very sassy, I'll say. Of the response.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
they're matching energy though.
Yeah, they're matching their energy. So I just wanted to talk about like the creativity that lawyers, because you know, being a attorney is a very like profession. So it's kind of like you rarely have instances where you can like, you know, let your creativity, the attorneys that, your personality show through it. The attorneys that actually have some outside of being an attorney. But I think that lawsuit is a good example of like how that can happen, because I've read some like petitions and motions and stuff where they get really spicy in there, and it's like, okay, like I feel like it makes it more entertaining. Like, you know, the judge may be they might be annoyed, but I feel like they still be reading it like, okay, this is juicy, like not the mundane, you know, stuff.
Somebody said that about when the whole thing with like Jay-Z happened, and he came out with this statement, and everybody was like, oh, a lawyer wrote this. Like you could tell a lawyer wrote it because it was so fiery. Yeah. And like it was just like so like stern on like, I will be vindicated. And I was just like, you could tell that a lawyer with personality wrote it.
Yeah. And you can also tell when like sometimes an attorney, like you have to listen to your client. And if they want you to add certain stuff, like to a certain degree, you know, you're like, okay, like we're gonna like bring this up or whatever, if it's not like completely against their better judgment. So I think it was also a situation where what's that dude name? Jay-Z was also like, add this into it. But another thing about the UMG like response is, I think there was also a lawsuit trying to add like Drewski and
that was quickly,
what was the
like,
other guy's name?
Beckham.
Odell, yeah. In that mess, and people were like, oh, you can tell this is fake because they're using people's stage names. It was like this like conversation on Twitter, like, oh, they're using stage names, like this is not authentic, And I just want to say, to that point, that's not true. In the UMG lawsuit, they say Drake. His name is Aubrey. Like they like in the lawsuits, you know, like they'll say Drake or like Kendrick. Lamar is not his last name. So it's like, I want to just dispel that. Like they will use, especially when it comes to like celebrities, they will use their, you know, stage names in lawsuits. That doesn't determine whether or not a lawsuit is real or fake. But also, I think people don't understand that like you can really petition the court for pretty much anything. You know, and people, there are some terrible lawyers out here who submit crazy stuff, but there are also people who, you know, represent themselves that can, I've seen some crazy petitions. So it's like the whole real and fake thing when it comes to court documents can be a little finicky, because just because a stage name is being used, just because somebody's speaking crazy, just because it may not be professional in the way that you expect it to be, doesn't mean that it's not real.
Now, okay, speaking about the Juicy thing, like really quick, was it a real lawsuit, or was it just something that somebody put out on the internet, like just completely fake? Or like, because I know Drewski was pretty, like, as soon as it came out, he was just like, I was homeless in 2018. Like, I didn't know any of these people at the time. Like, I just, like, so like, was the document itself,
I think it was
fake?
Because I believe so, because in Drewski's response, he says something along the lines of like they're going to handle the matter, you know, further, like I believe in court and stuff like that. So,
no, but that's what I'm asking. Like, was it just somebody that was just like, oh, I'm just going to make up, or did it actually make it to a court, like a petition? Like, did it actually do like that?
I think it actually did, because it doesn't take much to add a petition. Okay. Like, you just, like, pretty much add it in. Okay. And in circumstances where a complaint is, like, so outlandish that it's like, okay, this is kind of crazy, the judge will most likely, like, throw it out and be annoyed with it. Like, it's like, okay, well, what is this? Yeah. You know? And just because something is petitioned doesn't mean, like you see in this Juicy case, that it's true. Like people will be like, oh, somebody filed this against this person, and from then on act as if that filing is the truth, which I've never agreed with. And I feel like that also brings us into the next conversation of like the whole Jonathan Major stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like when all that stuff first came out, when I see a court case happen, I'm not immediately like, okay, this is it. I'm not like too conclusive because it's like just because somebody's saying something in court doesn't necessarily mean it's true. People lie in court all the time.
Yeah.
Like you swear, you're not supposed to. People literally lie all the time.
With the Jonathan Major thing, so there was an audio that was released just last week.
I believe so.
And it is pretty much allegedly him admitting that he has been aggressive in situations when it comes to
his ex.
Yeah, I believe her name was it Grace Jabari.
I don't know her name.
She's a professional dancer.
Oh,
yes,
really?
Yes, Grace Jabari. So they broke up in. The incident happened in 2022. The court long thing that happened, the whole saga that happened in around
the video of him running away from her. That was crazy.
That happened in around 2022, and now a conversation from when that time period was going on has now come out, and it's like him in an audio clip being like, yes, I have been an aggressor towards you. Like he doesn't explicitly say I hit you. He doesn't.
Yeah, she's kind of saying you did this to me.
The transcription is, I'm ashamed. I've never been aggressive with a woman before. I've never aggressed a woman. I aggressed you. And she says, you strangled me and pushed me against a car. He said, yes, all of those things are under aggressed. So he doesn't specifically say like I did those things. He's just like, that's under aggress. Like that's a part of being aggressed. And then he says that never happened to me. And she says, because I said something sarcastically in your eyes. So the audio is really it's really blotchy. You can barely kind of hear what's going on. But this is transcribed by Rolling Stone. And he continues on to say where clearly it's more than that. And then she says something inside of you. And he says, yeah, towards you. Like, it's a little bit back and forth. It's nothing that he actually says, but I'm surprised that this wasn't brought up in court.
Also,
where did this come from?
I just thought about something. When they were playing, was it on The Breakfast Club when they were playing the clip?
Yeah.
It sounded, the quality wasn't good.
Yeah.
But I'm like, if somebody was recording, like on her side, I'm assuming like they have something to record.
It would have to have sound good on somebody's side.
Yeah, I'm like, why does it sound like you, like, wouldn't that sound
It doesn't sound like either one of them is recording. It just sounds like a recording of a conversation. Like somebody else was on three-way and decided to record a conversation. Like somebody was hidden on three-way and somebody decided to record.
I was going to say that it sounds like, I would think she was recording, like she was recording on her side, but they don't have that original recording. Somebody recorded that recording. It's kind of what it sounds like to me.
But even then, because if it's somebody recording, like if I am like, if I'm talking,
like it would have felt better, sounded better.
Yeah, like if I'm talking on my phone and I'm recording on my iPad, and then you record what I recorded on my iPad from your phone, you would still be able to hear my voice a lot clearer.
Yeah, and it sounds like further away.
So both of them sound. I don't know. Somebody said, how do we know if this isn't AI? But he goes on to say he speaks about it and says
like he's working on himself or he's glad about his work or something.
Jonathan Major responds by saying, I was so grateful that I had done my work and am continuing to do my work. He said, I can't speak to it, but obviously because you're talking about it, there are vibrations, reverberating. Yeah, reverberations. Same as everything before. I'm living life. I'm surrounded by loved ones.
Yeah, it just felt very evasive. like I'm like, why'd you even do that? Like,
like he didn't even need to. It sounds like he don't even know if it's real. Like
I just think,
maybe he does.
So when the whole thing came out, because there's this conversation of like immediately believe women, and I'm definitely someone that like immediately believes women. Like it's like, oh yes, I'd rather apologize than like be wrong.
Yeah.
I
would
that's
rather
not what I'm trying to say.
apologize for being wrong.
They have never supported it in the first place.
Didn't support like a villain.
Exactly. Yeah. But I'm not gonna lie. When it comes to a situation where it's a white woman and a black man, I do take a pause.
Yeah.
Just based on everything that has happened historically and stuff
context.
like that. And people like to act like
that's such a horrible thing
exactly.
to do.
And it's like, no. I'm gonna take that step back. Like
I'm gonna take that into account.
I'm be like,
time.
yeah. Things we take into account.
Take it into account.
So when all of that happened, like even with the court case, I remember people were like bashing him and all this other stuff. But when I was looking like at the evidence and at the videos that they were posting, I kind of was in my head. I was thinking like, even with the verdict that came out, because he got, I believe he was. Like the case, the charges of him actually like hitting her, assault, battery, whatever, those charges were like, okay, he didn't do this. They found him guilty on like 1 count of assault. Yeah, but 1 count of harassment. Yeah, but the assault and the harassment that it is, or like for the assault part, it's not, he actually assaulted her. Let me,
it says that the actor has denied culpability and subsequently said in an interview that he was responsible for none of her injuries. A lawyer for Grace said that Jonathan showed no accountability for his actions and demonstrates a clear lack of remorse for his actions. I don't know if that means that like he wasn't like, did the court find him like not responsible for any of her injuries?
It says he was found guilty on 2 misdemeanor charges in a domestic violence case, assault in the 3rd degree and harassment in the 2nd degree. The jury found Majors not guilty of intentional assault in the 3rd degree and aggravated harassment in the 2nd degree, indicating that they did not believe Majors went into the situation intending to hurt her.
Now see, that's so crazy. Like when you break things down like that, just to see how he's been treated by the media, like it's insane. That's why I said people pick and choose. Like people pick and choose when they want to have morals, because like the way that he's been like blackballed from Disney, it's kind of insane to really think about. Like when you look at that,
I think they weren't willing to take the risk on him because if you explain it. It's like, which is why people are like on the internet saying like he did all this stuff. And that's why I just be quiet, because I'm like, I'm not trying to get into this argument. But it's like when you look at what he was actually found guilty of, because I'm a believer of in a court case, we, the audience, may never know what happened. When we were talking about the ASAP Rocky case, we will never know whether or not he shot. Like we're never going to know. Like, and that's why I feel like how my attitude was toward the Jonathan Majors case. All we have in front of us is what he was not found guilty of and what he was found guilty of. And I feel like people take, oh, he was found guilty of assault and that's it, And it's like, you're basing your belief on what the verdict was, but you're interpreting it incorrectly. If he was found guilty of, I feel like
people see a situation and be like, well, he's guilty in my heart. And like I will say that it is like domestic violence, and I'll say it is this, it's abusive, it's all of these things, just because like, I don't care what the court says.
Okay, so what I'm looking at, it says like they found that he did not intentionally cause any injuries to her. Also that like it was reckless assault, like in the pursuit of him doing something else.
Running away from her, I believe.
Yeah, he did. Like that is how the assault came. Like so, when it comes to reckless assault, like you cannot. The biggest thing is like intent. Like, did you have the intent to harm? Because even like you being reckless, if somebody end up harmed, like people still end up having to. What's the word?
Medical help.
Not medical help, but there are still consequences.
Yeah.
So like you could be driving. You get into a crash, like not the people who drive drunk and stuff like that, but even if you didn't mean to harm, it could be reckless.
Yeah, because that goes into reckless endangerment.
So so that I say all that to say, like when that case first came up, and people might not have all the information. So that's why I would never want to talk about it before, because I'm like, people are just going to be like, oh, you support abusers, you support abusers. It's like, I'm not doing that.
And people also want to believe what they believe.
Yeah.
Like, you cannot change people's minds if they've already decided, oh, I don't like this person. Like, if you were just waiting for a reason to hate somebody, then it's just kind of like, well, I can't help you in this situation. No amount of information that I can give you is really going to change your mind, because you've already decided that he's a terrible person.
Exactly.
Which is why
I'm not even trying to defend him. I'm just trying to give people, like, or even thinking about, okay, if I break this down, people are going to see it as me taking a side, and I don't want to, I'm not really particularly interested in defending Jonathan Majors. Yeah. So I'm like, I don't want that. Yeah. I'm just trying to say, hey guys, this is actually what really happened. But I feel like when I do that, people really get upset.
Yeah, but it goes back to the thing of like people pick and choose what they want, because somebody who might hate Jonathan Majors might love Chris Brown.
Exactly.
Like, people pick and choose when they want to be like, when they want to have morals, which is
but what you said earlier about like, wouldn't this phone call have come up during the case? Like, it's so much context that's missing, because it's like, did one of them record? Like, did she? Because it doesn't make it's not. He's not looking in a good light, but that is the typical conversation you would think like the person trying to get that information out is recording. Did she record it? When did this conversation happen? At what point? What with the intention behind recording it? Like, if he probably was just also trying to like, okay, I'm just going to say this just to get this conversation over with. I don't know.
And also the intention behind it leaking, because Jonathan Majors has been out of the media for quite some time.
Yeah,
he just gets back.
It could just be like, yeah, we not, and then you never gonna forget this.
Because then I hate to say this, because even though it's kind of like, oh, like I do take a pause when there is a situation between like someone white and some, like a black man. I want to say this very lightly, but there is a whole thing where it's just like, they try to bring the black man down as soon as he's up. I don't want to sit here and say that, but it does feel extremely convenient that once he is starting to get his footing back, all of a sudden this comes out again. It's just like, well, what was the whole intention of like everything in the first place? Was that also the intention as well? Because like as soon as his career starts to get like super big, it's like then this happens, and then it's like then he starts to get back, and then this happens. So it's
I don't think the idea that this most recent phone call leaked in order to set him back more is that far-fetched. I feel like it kind of makes sense. It's like, oh, he like people get over this, people forgetting. No, bam, bring it up again, especially when it comes to like thinking about Disney. I'm talking about Disney, because Disney dropped him immediately. If Disney wanted to put the work in to
destroy him.
No, not destroy him, but to be like, I feel like it would be explained more like what the charges actually meant. I feel like Disney could have did the work to like really do some PR control. It's like, oh, he wasn't actually charged with this. He was charged with this. And, it would be more information out about it and all this other stuff. I think they just didn't feel like taking that chance.
Like what they did with Johnny Depp. Like Johnny Depp, everybody, because I remember when everything happened, it was like, oh my God, is Johnny Depp really such a bad guy? Like everybody was so scared. As soon as them court documents started to come out, he had great PR.
Yeah, and I'm like, that could happen to dude. So it's just like
people pick and choose.
Yeah, I think it is convenient that it came out. Now for the original case, I think I honestly, I don't know.
I'm not saying that was the case that like, oh, he's up, let's tear him down. I'm not saying that, but I know that there are people that say things like that.
Like you had somebody messed up. They wasn't like she went to court, all this other stuff. But that just goes to show when it comes to context, sometimes. But that's the question. Sorry, that did not make any sense. But so in this,
context is important.
Context is important, but. Also, the question is, if it is like he is an abuser, is context important? Because some people could say, okay, well, I don't care about all that. At the end of the day, he did this, so
yeah,
I don't need context. I don't need to know the nitty gritty. Like at the end of the day, he's an abuser.
I feel like I do sometimes need context, because if there is a situation like with the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard situation where she is the aggressor, and then when he finally like give some pushback, then it's kind of like, well, then I do want to take that into context so that way I can make a decision for myself on whether or not I still want to support this person. I don't remember what happened with the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. I think he was vindicated in some type of way. I don't know. But like, I do enjoy context.
Yeah, I think context is very important because without it, narratives get spun out of control. And I feel like a situation recently that made me think about that even further is a video that came out where Juju Watkins is talking to Jaden Daniels, and then the clip like you could tell there's a shift in the change or whatever, and then his mother is sitting between them. Mind you, when they're talking, both of them smiling, they're like, oh, showing all 32, all that other stuff. And then it's like his mother comes in and she's between them, and
Juju looking off.
Yeah, she's like, yeah, calm, demure. So I was watching that video and I was like, I wonder if this was actually the order of events. Like if that first video happened first, or if it happened after the video with his mother, like, oh, his mother was there and then she left and then they scooted closer. Or if it was a situation where they were talking, but he was that was always his seat. And he was just sitting right there for whatever,
for his mom.
Yeah, for his mother, and then she came and then he got up.
But now the narrative has changed into like, oh, she's a boy mom. Like it went from she's overprotective of like her son, because it wasn't
over. I think it was like reasonably protective of her son.
Yeah, because like he's a rookie quarterback, and like now he's the star of the league. Well, not star of the league, but star of like the Redskins franchise. And like now everybody's just like, oh, it's good that like she's keeping a stiff arm back from everybody, because like we've seen it play out. These Instagram girls, how they just like come out the mud like little zombies. Like they just come out. So everybody was like, oh, it's good that she's doing that. And now that it's like a Juju Watkins, everybody's like, oh, weird, ill boy mom.
Yeah, because I think it also had to, like, when everyone was like praising her for that, it also had to do with what else was going on in the media, namely like the Anthony Edwards situation, the situation with Drea having that young boy, all that stuff. So people are like, oh, well, we see what's happening, so it's good that she's protecting him. But which once again goes to show, like you said earlier, people pick and choose based on who they like. People like Juju so much, which is a good thing. She seems cool, great, amazing player. They're like, oh, I like her so much that I don't like this treatment of her, but they're assuming the treatment of her. People are assuming his mother got between them based off, previous things that like she said, but they're assuming she got between them, and is trying to like block it or whatever, maybe made Juju uncomfortable. But it's like, that's an assumption, which is why I was thinking in the first place, okay, I wonder if this was the exact order of events.
Somebody just said they're first cousins.
Is that confirmed?
I don't know.
Because it said he went.
My research
I think he
on
is.
Amid the narratives and gossip developing on social media, was talk that Watkins and Daniels are cousins through their mothers, though that hasn't been confirmed.
Okay, so that's not confirmed. Because I feel like somebody just threw that in there. I feel like people would know if they were related.
Somebody just said it on Facebook as almost as if like they knew. Like,
and that's what people do.
Yeah.
Like we were talking with the Diddy stuff, somebody will think, oh, well, maybe this is the case, and then it just becomes law to them. Like, oh, she is his cousin.
Or maybe they like play cousins. Like, their moms are, they homegirls or something like that. But hey, that's not to say that they can't be with each other. Well, now I'm seeing a lot of.
I remember that's what's the song? Bryson Tiller. It's something about friends. He's like, the couple's arguing in the background. They're like, I want you. I'm with you. I want you. Da, da, da. She was like, that's my brother. That's my brother. He's like, that's not your brother. Y'all got to say mom and daddy. It just made me think about that.
Yeah. I don't know about that. People got to be careful. Well, it's kind of, when it comes to media, it's kind of really hard to put a string on like narratives that start to spin out of control, especially when it comes to things that like are just that people have like really visceral reactions to, like boy moms, and everybody just wants to start, putting out their buzzwords and their think pieces and being like, oh, it's incestuous, blah, 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 blah.
Yes. Because even then, I'm looking it up, and he's 5 years older than her. Like, he's 24 and she's 19. So I'm like, if that was even really a conversation, if people like didn't like one of them, it's like, oh, this is weird.
I didn't realize he was that old.
Yeah. It's like, this is weird. She's a teenager, and it would be all these other think pieces is what people would come from it. But at the end of the day, people just look at the video and it's like, oh, 2 people were talking,
Man,
and now
woman.
it's 3 people next
Right,
to each other.
yeah.
Like people, like now people are like hating her, and it's like, bruh, all that happened was a video was posted. Like we don't know, we don't have any
Other
context to
Mhm.
what's going on.
Kanye West?
Yes.
Okay.
So
Y'all, Kanye West has done it again.
Again. You want to talk about what happened?
You want to know what's something really funny?
What?
This is sidetrack, but my best friend, like, she broke up with a guy, and like he was having a really hard time with a breakup. He needed a couple closure conversations to the point where, like, the last closure conversation that they had, he was like, because her favorite artist growing up was Kanye West. So he was like, yeah, and I hope Kanye never makes a good song again. And she was like, wow, that's so hurtful. But like now it's kind of like, well, damn.
It's like, what you say for? Like,
right, what you
why am I in this?
Like, how did Kanye get dragged into this?
Yeah. So,
but yeah, anyway.
Kanye West is on his, run of the mill Twitter rants where he's saying the most outlandish, horrible things ever. I never see it. I blocked him a long time ago. Like, whatever. But apparently the most recent, well, is it even the most recent now? But he was talking mess about like Beyonce. He was talking about her children, which is just like so disgusting. And so even before that, he was saying anti-Semitic things, like talking about other celebrities, talking about his own kids and Kim and all the other stuff. So now the conversation is starting up of people saying, oh, you know who needs to be in a conservatorship? Kanye West. Like him, not all these other people. And I'm pretty sure it came about from, Wendy Williams, Britney Spears. And they're like, no, it's truly, it is Kanye. But I think when that, were you about to say something?
Yeah, I was about to say, one of my friends, shout out to Jera, like, oh my God, you have to meet Jera one day. She is like, that's one person I never want to get in an argument with because like her and she has a twin sister. They can like, I mean this in a good way. They can suck all the air out of the room. Like their speech is so captivating. Like just to listen to them talk is just like, whoa, keep going. Yeah. And like she was talking about how like it's very interesting how Kanye isn't in a conservatorship, and anytime that we are talking about celebrities in conservatorships, it's almost always women. And she was kind of like posing the topic of like, are we putting women into conservatorships because like we cannot control them or things like that. Like we can't control them how at one point we should be able to, or things
it's
like
kind of like putting like how they used to put women in like, oh, you're a witch, or even more not more recently, but how they used to put women in those like asylums. They're like, oh no, she's crazy. But so something about me, a little lore is I actually straight out of law school, I clerked for a judge, and he was in a rotation. And that year he was doing like probate and estate. So I helped file petitions for like, not petitions, but orders of guardianship, conservatorships, all those kind of things. So I actually like have direct experience with that. And I feel like to your friend's idea, and I feel like I have seen that narrative being explored on social media. I think more research needs to go into it because when I was at the court, but once again, that's a small sample size of where I that you have experience with, it was mostly men that I was seeing in conservatorships, being put into conservatorships. So yeah, and I think people are saying Kanye West needs to be put into a conservatorship just because of how outlandish and like horrible the things he has been tweeting are. But I think people,
not just tweeting though.
Yeah, tweeting and doing.
Yeah.
I think people associate a conservatorship with, this person is hid from the public. And I think they do that because in the two main like conservatorships they know, Britney Spears and Wendy Williams, they're like, yeah, they were taken out of the limelight. But a conservatorship doesn't necessarily mean you're being taken out. A conservatorship is when a conservator, is appointed by the court to manage an incapacitated person's estate and financial affairs. And there's
so
also
he can still have his phone and still tweet.
Yeah. And it's like as opposed to like a guardianship. For a guardianship, a guardian is appointed by the court to make decisions regarding the personal affairs of an incapacitated person, including their care, health, safety, and living arrangements. So a conservator, personal affairs and financial affairs, guardianship, personal affairs, it mostly has to do with like medical treatment and stuff like that. So yeah, like you're saying, this person is managing that doesn't necessarily mean they are in control of this person and what they're doing. And it's like, just because someone is having, kind of crazy manic behavior, doesn't mean they can't take care of their can't take care of their own personal and financial affairs.
Yeah.
So just to clarify that, I feel like it also opens up a conversation for like mental health, because we're I don't know if he was diagnosed. Was he ever?
I'm pretty sure at one point he was diagnosed.
Okay, yeah. So
and then I think he rescinded the diagnosis and was like, I'm not really this. Yeah, something like that.
Okay, yeah. I feel like the idea that, because this person is wilding in a way that many people think is deplorable and they just don't want to see it, that means that person should be hidden away from society. And I think that is a very problematic and ableist idea, because it then leads to the question of okay, just because somebody is acting this way, that means they have not necessarily they don't have a value to society, but they need to be taken away from it and stripped from it. Because at the end of the day, we're human beings. We're supposed to be in community. And so saying oh, we just need to get rid of this person because they're acting wild, I think that's messed up. I think that's also why we have things pushing homeless people out. And even back in the day, people with disabilities, because that's my area of work, that was the idea. Oh, if somebody has a disability, put them in a facility or a home and stuff. Yeah, take them away. There have been there was a case, if you want to look into Olmstead, and there have been laws created that have essentially said if a person, I'm paraphrasing by the way, but you can't just take a person away. You have to, if a person needs to be in some kind of facility or anything like that, you have to essentially use your best efforts to make sure they are not taken away from the community. Not even necessarily they go to a facility, but it's maybe there are services in the area. There have to be services. There are services in the area that can help them explore that first before being okay, we got to lock this person up. And those laws exist for a reason, because people had that mindset before where it's oh, this person, not even just not even just mental disabilities, but physical as well. Oh, we just don't want to see this person, so they need to be taken away. So I just want people to explore that. When you have that mindset, explore it more. And think okay, well, why? Because you don't want to see it. But just because you don't want to see it, does that mean it's
and also, at what point, because
I
think it allows for a slippery slope. What you're saying was at one point we kind of used to do that. So now if we say, it sets a precedent that oh, this might be okay to start doing again. Oh, if we do this with Kanye. However, well, I do want to clarify. He said that he was misdiagnosed with bipolar disorder and said that he's autistic. But he said he got diagnosed by his wife's doctor or something like that. So kind of have to,
yeah. Do we even know?
Yeah, and he's been in a few manic episodes as of recently, so we can't necessarily say that. But I'll also say people, once again, going back to people pick and choose when they want to have morals. Everybody thought it was so funny when that lady went to Pakistan and was holding the whole country hostage. No, y'all finna give me this money. And now she's in Dubai in jail. I don't know if she's ever been released from jail. So it's just y'all thought that was so funny. Y'all wasn't saying, oh, put her in a conservatorship. I'm Nani.
And I'm Ann.
Join us on Law and Order as we unpack the hottest topics, trending lawsuits, and media buzz.
Take a listen as we cut through the noise to reveal fact and what's really going on.
Let's Tune in for sharp insights and a fresh take on today's stories. Follow us everywhere for your dose of lore. Follow us everywhere for your dose of lore. Follow us everywhere for your dose of lore.